Hey everybody, today we are just going to take a quick dive into transformations. This is our new unit. We're going to look at the different types of transformations and what they might do. I'll try to illustrate some of them for you so you can kind of visually see what's going on. But we're going to look more in depth into each one that we talk about today next week. But for today, it's important that you understand a transformation is an operation. We do something that maps an original figure. And when I say it maps it, that means I am taking it from one location to another, like on a map. I am putting it on a new location. And that original figure, we call that the pre-image. Okay, that is what comes before our actual image. So the pre-image is my original. Spoilers, I already gave this away. My new figure we call the image. Okay, so when I am talking about transformations, we are taking an object. In this case, if I look at the graph on the left, I am taking triangle BAC. That's what it's named, BAC. And that's my pre-image. And I'm going to do something to it so that it becomes this new triangle that we see here on the right. This triangle right here. Okay. I'm going to do something to it, and we are going to now call it B, and you'll notice I'm making these tick marks. We can refer to it as BAC prime. Okay. That's point B prime, A prime, C prime. Those little tick marks, like little quotation, are called prime. All right, and that's how we read them. So I can just call this, instead of saying B prime, A prime, C prime, I can call this triangle BAC prime. And that's my image. That's my final product. Now, a transformation can change a few things about a shape or a figure. The first thing that it can change is its size. We can make it larger or smaller, okay? It can also change its position. So we can move it up, down, left, right. We can change where it's at. And then the last thing is its orientation. Which way is it facing? And when I say that, I mean like if I were to put my Chromebook down on the desk and then I picked it up and I flipped it over and I put it down to where the screen is now on the bottom instead of the keyboard, I changed the orientation, okay? Orientation is looking at which direction we are facing. Where is the face of the figure? And whenever we do these changes, sometimes what we started with stays the same. We might just change its position, okay? And the figure that we're looking at remains the same. And I call that a rigid transformation. So I'm just going to say that that's rigid. And rigid transformations always end with a congruent figure. The pre-image and the image will be congruent to each other. All right. Now, sometimes, however, when we perform a transformation, we end up with a non-rigid transformation. And non-rigid transformations are going to change something about the shape or the figure that when we have our image, it is no longer congruent, but it is still similar. And we're going to discuss similarity next week. But first, I wanted to kind of look at rigid and non-rigid transformations and talk to you a little bit about them. So we're going to do this like small little deep dive into these shapes and what is happening here, okay? So the first one that I am actually looking at is a translation. Now, translations, what we are doing with them is sometimes referred to as a shift or a slide. And what we do is we are performing a shift and that's SHIFT. I'm going to put that in parentheses. That way you understand that shift is a word you will see with translations or a slide. Shift is the more accurate, and it's how people will write about it most of the time. But the easiest way to remember that you're sliding the figure right there, it's in translation. And a shift or a slide to the figure either horizontally or vertically. So we are taking our figure to, or we are taking our pre-image, and we are either moving it horizontally, which is our left and right. So we are either moving it horizontally, left to right, or right to left, either way, or vertically. And that's either up or down, right? So the example that I have here, we see triangle BAC here on the left. I've outlined it in red. Okay. If I wanted to, I could take triangle BAC and I can just move it over. I can shift it to the right. I can shift it down. And now I have performed a translation. I have moved triangle BAC, the original image, the pre-image, and it now is BAC prime. You'll notice we didn't change the angles. We didn't change the overall size. Like, all my sides are still the same. All we did was change position. So this is what we call a rigid transformation. Okay. Let me just deselect this really quick so I can write. This is a rigid transformation. Okay. Now, talking about our next thing, we have reflections. Reflections are a little different. Okay. A reflection we refer to as a flip. Okay. It is a flip. It is also referred to as a mirror. Most of the time we refer to it as a flip. The letter's right there in the name. It is a flip or mirror. Over a line. But it's not just any line. It is a line that we call the line of reflection. So it's over a line called the line of reflection. So wherever we tell you the line of reflection is, that is where we are going to flip your figure or object over. I'm going to do my best to illustrate this. Digitally, whenever I flip it, it doesn't work quite the way it's supposed to, but I still want to show you to try to just give you an idea. And I am just going to purposefully select this spot here. And I want my line of reflection to be that little line right there. So if I were to flip it over, I would be taking this and it would go over the line of reflection, which my line of reflection digitally is not in the right spot. But you can see that once I flip it over, it has just changed its orientation, which way it's facing. And you can see they look almost like they're in the same location overall, but something has changed here. We still have the same shape though. So this is a rigid transformation. Now I'm going to go ahead and deselect so I can write. This is a rigid transformation. And when I talked about that line of reflection, the thing that I was flipping over, we have that right here. Okay, this is my line of reflection for this particular transformation right now. Then we move on to rotations. Rotations are a little different. Rotations are a turn. Okay, they are just a turn. It'd help if I had my pencil. They are a turn around, so a turn around a fixed point. And we call that point specifically, we call that the center of rotation. So it is called the center. I did not give myself a lot of room here. My apologies, guys. Of rotation. And then whenever I talk about the center of rotation, we're going to look here really quick. I will do a demonstration of a rotation. So let me go ahead. I just want to set up, like I did in the previous examples, I just want to set up something that uses the same graph area. Okay. And we have our original, we have ABC right here. And I am putting my center of rotation. I don't know if you can see this little point that I am moving around here. I am putting it right here at our origin because this one is rotating around that point. Okay. So now if I were to take my shape, my original shape, and I were to just rotate it and like, let me now do this. If I were to take it and just rotate it, you see that as we turn it, the size is not changing. None of the angles are changing. All we're doing is we are turning it around that point, and we end up at ABC prime or BAC prime. We started here, we rotate it, and now we're here. We're spinning it all around that single point. And that changes the location of everything, but it does not change the size, does not change the angles. So this is what we refer to as a rigid transformation. This is rigid. Okay. And then our last one that we're going to discuss today is our dilation. You might have heard people having their pupils dilated or something along those lines. It's just a change in size, really. So when we think of a dilation, it is the enlargement or reduction. Those are the math words that we're going to use. That is the academic vocabulary. So it is the enlargement, and bear with me, I'm trying to write small as well. The enlargement or reduction. And I'm going to put those in quotations. The enlargement or reduction of a figure and when we dilate something, we change it based on its scale. And we call that a scale factor. We change this figure with a scale factor. And rather than trying to describe a scale factor every single time, we have a specific variable that we use for it, and that variable is k. Our scale factor is referred to as k. So for example, here we have triangle ABC is my preimage. Okay, and if you'll take me just a sec, or give me just a second, I'm going to set up the graph. Okay. My center, where I am dilating it from, you'll notice it is already here, so that's where I'm going to put mine. Now, if I take my image and I am making it larger, we are growing, we become ABC prime. Okay. So ABC, and I am performing an enlargement, becomes ABC prime. If I wanted to go back, that would be a reduction. I'm reducing the size. But here I had ABC, and I enlarged it to become ABC prime. All right. So enlarging it, our angles don't change. We've talked about how you can have different sizes with the same angles. But what does change is the size itself, which means the sides are no longer the same. And since they are no longer the same, this is the one example currently of a non-rigid transformation. Okay. So quick recap just to go through everything. We have translations. That's where I'm taking the object and I am moving it to the left or right. I'm moving it up or down. Okay, I'm sliding it, shifting it. We have our reflections. I'm taking the object, I'm picking it up over the line of reflection and flipping it over, just like a mirror is flipped. If you ever look in a mirror and you hold up your right hand, your mirror reflection, while yes, it is your right hand, it's the left side. Rotations, we're just turning it around. We're turning it around some point. And then finally, to recap, dilations, we are taking a pre-image and we are making it larger or smaller. We are enlarging or reducing the size of the figure by a specific scale factor that we call K. And we're going to look more in depth at all of these next week, but that is it for today. I hope that I was more than informative about transformations. Y'all have a great weekend.